Wait until you get a load of this one. Some Minnesota lawmakers are pushing a bill that will put citizens on a, quote, bias registry tracked by the government if they raise questions about COVID.
If a Minnesotan writes an article claiming or arguing that COVID-19 is a Chinese bioweapon that leaked from a lab in Wuhan, and someone reports that article to the Department of Human Rights, is that something that the Department of Human Rights should put in their bias registry under your bill?
That is bias motivated, and so that can be considered a bias incident.
Harry Niska is the state representative from Minnesota. You saw calling out the bill, and he joins me now. Harry, how is a scientifically proven fact that the virus came from China that China admits? I mean, they're not high in the ball on this. How is that an example of bias?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It was really stunning. And essentially, the reason that this bias registry that Minnesota Democrats are advocating is so scary is because it's entirely subjective and in the eye of the perceived victim. What is something that is bias speech that the government should be surveilling and tracking? You know, it's part of really a cautionary tale for the rest of the country about what radical progressives will do if you give them narrow control in a purple state to consolidate power very quickly.
So that actually was my question.
So thank you for having me on.
No problem. It's great to have you here. So the victim complains they have one point of view. The person who made the statement is obviously going to defend themselves. So who ultimately determines whether or not this is perceived bias or not?
Well, that's a good question that we asked, and I've gotten different answers from different lawmakers who are advocating this. Some, Representative Bang, who you had showed on the screen, who authored the underlying bill that was put into a big omnibus, said that bureaucrats at the Minnesota Department of Human Rights would have discretion to decide whether things are biased or not and should go into this government speech surveillance database. Another Democrat representative, the author of the omnibus bill that this was incorporated into, said all of them would if the victim perceives it as being bias motivated. And so either way, it's a way to chill speech, obviously legitimate political speech. The clip you showed is just one example that I tried to use of several different examples from across the spectrum. Where we're talking about legitimate political opinions that people express in the marketplace of ideas. And if the government doesn't like it, or if a victim doesn't like it, or a certain person on the other side of the aisle doesn't like it, then under the bill that we passed out of the Minnesota House, and similar language has already passed out of the Senate, that's going to go into what's really almost a Soviet-style snitch line, or a CCP-style social credit scoring database that we don't know what the Department of Human Rights or what the government is going to do with that in the future. They say they want to use it to shape future legislation, and that's pretty scary, too.
Yeah, I thought the only thing that Minnesota and Russia had in common was hockey. I guess you can add another one to the list here with this ridiculous bias law. It seems to me this should be labeled the, quote, things that make people feel bad law. Is that right? Is that accurate?
The advocates of the bill, yes, that is how they essentially describe it, that it is about how a person perceives not just crimes. I wanted to limit this registry to things that were criminal incidents, and they, on a party line vote, rejected it. They want to include in this thing speech that makes people feel bad, speech that makes people feel like they are being targeted for this laundry list of protected classes, including things like gender identity, gender expression, national origin, religion, etc. The whole long list of protected classes. They want to, if you feel bad for one of those reasons about someone's speech, then they think you should report that speech to the government and it should go in a database.
And Harry, it's going to lead to the silencing of political enemies, which at the end of the day is an attack on free speech. And we cannot have this in the United States of America. Harry Niska, keep fighting. Keep us posted. We appreciate it.
Thank you.